Hello and welcome back, or welcome. I am book lover Lorna. First things first, I had a week break. Don't come for me. It was Easter. Just needed a bit of a break, this gal. And also hadn't filmed anything and time just ran away with me. So we're back this week, obviously with my March wrap up, because I haven't shared with you yet what I read last month. So, you know, it's a little bit late in the game, but we're just going to roll with it anyway. We're going to roll with it. Now, March wasn't actually an amazing reading month for me. I only read 5 books. I mean, it's still very good, but it's not my 8 that I usually plan for. I was so close to getting the 6th, and then I was like, do you know what? I'm just, like, pressurising myself too much. So I just put that one forward to finish in April, which is absolutely fine. Now, the 5 books that I read 3 from my shelves and 2 arcs from, like, you know, NetGalley and such like. And I would probably say, obviously the volume of books that I read was not massive, so it wasn't a great reading month on numbers, nor was it a great reading month for kind of ratings. There were no books that I was like, wow! Like, there were books that I enjoyed, but there were no books that I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I'm not even sure. I think actually did I give 5 stars for one book? Possibly. We'll find out in a minute as we go through, because I'm not even sure. It feels like so long ago now. But yeah, essentially didn't read as much, which is okay, because in January, February time, I read more than I needed to. Words fail me. More than I needed to. So I was ahead of my game for when, you know, work was really busy and I just got out of my reading mojo, but I didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it happened, which was straight away after I'd got ahead. So that's good. But yeah, well, let's just get cracking. So the first book that I read in March of this year was Postscript by Cecilia Ahern. Now, I would love to know if people agree with me on this. I reread P.S. I Love You because I read it years and years ago on Kindle, so I wanted to reread it, which I actually have the physical copy now, before I read this one. And I'm a couple of years late to this. I mean, although someone messaged me saying they didn't know that this was a thing. This is the sequel to P.S. I Love You, as in the one that's like a film and everything. 2019. This came out, so I'm 2 years late. Although I think it came out in the second half of 2019, so that would only be a year and a half late. Now, my rereading of P.S. I Love You was not fantastic. My memory of reading the book was that it was like really powerful and I cried and it just hit me right in the feels. And then I reread it and it wasn't the same. It felt a bit flat. I don't know if it's because I'd read it before or because I was reading it, you know, during a depressing pandemic. I don't know. But I did not enjoy it, like, at all. I thought, oh, like, this isn't the same. I don't know whether it just came across different because I'm older. I'm not sure. But P.S. I Love You, yeah, did not enjoy my reread of that. Like, I wouldn't even bother to read it again. But before I was like, yes, I love P.S. I Love You. But it had been, well, I probably read it when I was like 14, 15. So we're talking, you know, almost 10 years. I'm 24, so 10 years ago. And I thought it was great at the time, but now not so much. So once I've read that, I was like, well, you know, Postscript, this might be better. Like, it's newer, you know, Cecilia's got like a new stance on it. Time has passed, you know, things in her brain must have been like, oh, you know, we can prove that, whatever. I definitely enjoyed it more than P.S. I Love You, but still didn't love it. Again, it just felt a bit flat. I'm not sure if I've kind of fallen out of enjoying Cecilia Ahern's books. Well, I don't know if I was a massive on them to begin with. I've got lots of them, but I haven't read them all because I read quite a couple even, and I just didn't love them. I love Rosie, which is Where Rainbows End. I love the way that's written. It's one of my favourite books and probably will continue to be one of my favourite books. And I have reread that one lots of times, so it's not that I'm going to reread that one and I'm going to dislike it because I've already reread it lots of times. So this one I ended up giving 3 stars. Admittedly, I did shed like a few tears at the end. Well, not tears, just like, you know, misty eye, a little bit, oh, that was sad. But yeah, overall, I was just a bit like, I don't think we really needed this. I don't think we needed this book, unfortunately. I think I gave it 3 stars because it was better than its predecessor even, but this can't live without the other. So also, this is essentially 7 years after Jerry's death, which is obviously what P.S. I Love You is about, and Holly does, I think it's like a talk or something, about how Jerry's letters helped her, and then this group of people called the P.S. I Love You Club come to Holly and they're like, can you help us write our own letters? Because they are also sick. It might have been, like I say, that I read it during a pandemic when everyone is already sad. That might not have helped the fact that I didn't enjoy this book. But overall, I didn't really enjoy it. 3 stars. It's on the lower end of the 3-star range, let's be fair, because I could read a book and be like, well, it's okay, I appreciate it, but it's not for me, and I would give that book 3 stars. This was just a 3 stars. Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at with that one. Not a fantastic start to the month. Wouldn't even recommend reading these, unfortunately. They just don't sit the same as they did 10 years ago. I mean, this one wasn't even around then, but the whole storyline, it's not the same. Next in March, I read You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This is one that I've been meaning to read for ages and I just never picked it up. I saw lots of other people enjoying it and everything on Instagram, so I thought, right, let's finally pick this up. Now, this is about Liz, who is in high school, and her plan is to become a doctor. And in order to do that, she needs scholarships and whatnot, and something happens where her scholarship falls through. And then she remembers that in her school, there's this very weird thing where they're like obsessive over prom king and queen. Like, it's a whole like yearly event that, you know, you partake in like charity work and all this jazz to become prom king or queen. But if you do get prom king or queen, then you get a scholarship. So obviously she really wants that scholarship so that she can go off to, can't remember what university it is, something in America, something, an uber elite college, I can't remember, in order to become a doctor. So she therefore, you know, goes for prom queen, and it's all about that, what she goes through, the people that she meets. I completely see the hype around it. It's very enjoyable, like young adult, kind of, there's a bit of romance in there, not too much high school drama, but a little bit. It's very, very easy reading, very quick. It's not very many pages. It's like 300 pages. Even though it wasn't like my favourite book in the world, just because it was a little bit like, it felt a little bit simple for me in terms of like storyline and the way it's written. Like, it wasn't, not that I want all my books to be challenging, but it wasn't really like challenging for my mind. It didn't really like, you know, set my mind on fire. So for that reason I give it 4 stars, because totally appreciate it. Think that, like, well, I can see where the hype comes from. Very enjoyable story, but just like wasn't my favourite pick. So for that reason, 4 stars. Next, I read The Billionaire Blooper by Lolita Thorne. Now, this is #1 in a series called the Hibiscus Bay series, I believe. Hibiscus Bay? Yeah. Now, this is one that I got as an advanced reading copy through a reviewing website, and it was interesting. Now, the storyline essentially goes along the lines of this woman is sent on a holiday by her friend, which is not actually meant for her. So he's just like, oh, turn up at this hotel, say this random name, and you'll have like a fantastic holiday. And it's, I think the way it's described is kind of like one of those places where the bedrooms are on stilts, you know, like, is it Bali? No, not Bali. I don't even know because I've not been there. That's, you know, like dreaming world. But you know the kind of thing that I mean, where it's like where it's like beautiful blue sea, and they're like log cabins, and you can like see through the floor to see the fish, and you like go along these walkways. You know exactly what I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, so she goes and, you know, kind of pretends to be someone else in order to get this holiday because this other person isn't showing up. And like along the side of that, the guy who owns this whole like resort is what I assume that he's really fit. I mean, for the storyline, he probably is very fit, and he's obviously the billionaire. Now, their paths cross is about what happens. It's supposed to be like a romance. I would call it a raunchy fairy tale. It was very raunchy, and I'm okay with raunchy. I'm very good with it. That's like, you know, that's okay. But reading it, I was just cringing so much. Like there's a level that's like raunchy, and then there's a level that's just like cringe, and cringe is like up here. It was just the way that it was described, and I couldn't possibly explain to you without probably like violating YouTube guidelines from some of the words that I'd be using if I like read you an extract from it. But it's very like, it's not even saucy, it's just the words that are used in the sex scenes they just make you go, ugh. And trust me, I am not against any sex scenes, love a good sex scene, love a raunchy scene, but the descriptive words were just like a bit too much. Not a bit too much, way too much. There was just, I don't know. I really wish that I could like read out a section to you, because you completely get what I'm talking about and realise that I'm not just being, you know, like uptight, because I'm not uptight at all. This is just, yeah, a little, it was a lot. When I was reading it, actually, I was like Snapchatting my friends who aren't really book readers and reading them segments, and they were like, what? Like, why would you write that? And I was like, yeah, completely get you. So the sex scenes overall, moral of the story, the sex scenes in this book were just not written that well. There was just too much. If it was dialed back a bit, they would be so enjoyable. They'd be like on air. They were really steamy, but just like in a crude way. That's the right word I'm looking for, crude. Too crude. So yeah, it was like a raunchy fairy tale, but in a bit of a cringy way. I would really like to see more of the two characters and see what happens next, which I guess is what's going to happen because it's part of the Hibiscus Bay series. So I did enjoy it, but yeah, the sex scenes were a lot. So in the end, I just checked, I did give it 4 stars. I think I would definitely like seek out to read the next book, just because I'm so intrigued to know what happens next. Maybe the next book will have less cringy action in it. Here's hoping. Next in March, I read The Truth and Other Hidden Things by Lee Geller. Now this was a NetGalley arc, and I really, really enjoyed it. This is the only book this month that I gave 5 stars to, or last month even, that I gave 5 stars to. It is about a family who live in New York, their circumstances change, and they move into the suburbs. And the woman in the story, who is called Bells, she's a writer, she's looking for things to do. She's also pregnant, even though she's got like a lot older kids. She's had an accident, oops, and she just wants to keep busy. So she essentially starts writing a column about life in this suburban town, essentially, or this suburban area. So it's very much suburban drama. If you enjoy a bit of that, you're going to absolutely love this book. Now, what I did think was quite impressive is that this main character, Bells, she could very easily have become someone who the reader disliked just because of her attitude and the things that she was saying. But Lee Geller did a very good job of teetering just on the edge of like keeping you intrigued in what Bells was doing. Just before you started to, you know, despise her. So I think that was quite good, because that can very easily happen, that you slip into the thing of, oh my god, this main character is so annoying, or she's such an idiot. And the author managed to kind of like hold back from that. So I thought that was quite good. And she did manage to kind of keep you in a place where you could feel sorry for the woman as well, which, you know, very important instead of hating her. I did think that the book was very witty. There was quite a few things in there which kind of made you inwardly chuckle. Not like an outward chuckle, but like a bit of a, you know, for goodness sake. Really, really enjoyable. So I liked that one and I gave that one 5 stars. Now, my 5th and final read of March was The Magpie Society by Zoe Sugg and Amy McCullough. Now, this one came out last year. Obviously, a lot of people went mad for it because we're all Zoella fans. Like, I absolutely love Zoe Sugg. Still, at the age of 24, I still watch her videos. I love her. Like, I'm so invested in her and Alfie's life. I just love them. But I was like, this could be not amazing. I went into it thinking, when I first saw it was coming out, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be like other things before. When you read like a fiction book that a famous person has brought out, it can be flat. This is like my favourite descriptive word, isn't it? Flat. It's flat. So I didn't have high expectations. And then I saw lots of people reading it when it came out and they were absolutely flying through it. Like reading it. How punny. Magpie Society, flying through it. And doing it in one sitting. So I was like, well, maybe I could do that. I think in the end I did it in 2 sittings and I can see how people were going through it so quick. It is very much a page turner and it's very quick. I mean, there's not a ton of words on each page. Some pages are like this, and that's like a transcript. And then, I mean, that's obviously written, but it's not, you can see it's quite spaced out. The margins are quite large, so it doesn't take that long. I understand how they're flying through it. It's definitely a gripping story. It's a little bit creepy in places, but that's just because I'm a scaredy cat. It definitely keeps you gripped, so obviously, again, that is why they were flying through it. But what I did think is that it was written quite simply. Now, I know it is a YA book, but the language was just a bit simple. I think it didn't really know where it wanted to sit. Because some of the parts were obviously, like, well, I mean, I found them quite creepy and scary. I think that was kind of above its age level. But then the language and some of the storyline was below the age level for, like, the target audience. So I don't think it really knew, like, where it wanted to sit on the scale. Overall, I did really enjoy it. And I think would I read the second one? I'm not sure, you know. I'm really not sure. There is another one being written at the moment, second in the series. But I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to read it or not. Undecided at this point. I did give this 3 stars. I guess it's kind of on the stage of like 3 stars where I have an appreciation for it, but I didn't enjoy it the most. So, yeah. And also, forgot to tell you what it's about. So, essentially, it's this like British boarding school. And there's this big secret, this girl died and then she got washed up on the shore with a magpie tattoo on her back. I'm gonna sneeze, bless me. And essentially it's kind of like a little bit of a mystery. The girls in the school, these 2 go about kind of trying to find out what happened. So yeah, that's kind of it as far as the story goes. It's not that complex kind of thing. But yeah, I gave that 3 stars. So that is how my March reading went. Like I say, not the best month in the world. Only gave one book 5 stars. So that's kind of sad. Oh well. April is a new month. Am I doing okay so far? I'm doing in the middle so far as April goes. But yeah, I guess I should probably wrap up my wrap up now. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy reading. And I will see you all in next week's video. Bye!